Okay. One of you may please unmute and just confirm whether you can see my screen. Can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. In the last class, I ended with this screen where I was telling you what does drafting mean. Now, drafting is actually the first step of your writing. After the first step, you go on to revision. Now, what do I mean by revision? By revision, I mean three things. First, proofreading. What does proofreading mean? Proofreading means reading for typing mistakes, reading for formatting errors. What is formatting, we will know later. And reading for citation accuracy. That is, you are quoting something from a book, you are rechecking whether that quote is correct and whether the details of the book that you have quoted from that is entered correctly. Okay, so these things will fall under proofreading. Very often students have that impression that proofreading means only correcting grammatical mistakes or occasional spelling mistakes or correcting punctuation marks, etc. But that is not all. Any and every mistake that is made after drafting, which has to be corrected after detection, that is proofreading. Okay. Now, once the proofreading is over, you go to what is known as editing. What does editing mean? Editing means rewriting the sentences which are already correct in a manner and tone that suits your paper. Very often we know that the same idea can be expressed in 10 different ways. Okay, so each of the ways are correct, but what we don't know is that there is maybe one appropriate statement and style that sorry, will suit that idea. As an editor, your task will be to change the sentences from one correct version to another, right? After this is done, we'll begin what is known as revising. This means checking the flow of arguments, checking whether paragraphing is done correctly, and also checking whether there are logical flow or transition in each of these content, right? Now, once the editing is done, we will come into something much more specific in terms of rules. What is it? Avoiding slangs, first person opinion. In research, mind you, or in academic writing, first person is usually avoided. Okay, why? Because first person, that is telling that I think, I am writing, I am doing, I went there, I will go there, we will play football. These are all first person accounts. They actually fit a personal subjective writing more than a formal academic writing. Okay, so that has to be avoided. Second is using language which are of a hedging nature. Hedging. Hedging means inaccurate or inexact nature. Right? Very often, research will actually arrive at some specific predetermined goals. Like you can think beforehand whether the use of mobile phones or social media is harming the studies of students or not. And you are researching. Okay. But when you are researching, you find that the performance of the students in examination who tend to use mobile phones more, they are better, which will give you the power to infer that the overt use of mobile phones do not necessarily impact academic performance of students. Right? Now, the moment you are telling the use of overuse of mobile phones do not, you are making your research exact. That is what is required. Okay. But if you use words such as the overt use of mobile phones may not harm the academic performance of students. The once you are using the word may, you are actually implying an element of uncertainty. May means it may harm, it may not harm. Right? So in formal research, objective language and formal tone is very, very necessary. Okay. Now we come to something which we have to almost memorize for our exams, because every year some question or the other comes invariably from citation and referencing styles. What does this mean? This means that in humanities as we know it in this part of the world, there are three ways in which you can use references, three styles. We will do each of these three styles in greater detail later. The first is, as you can see, the APA style. What does APA stand for? APA stands for American Psychological Association. It is a scholarly group of psychologists based out of America. They have devised a citation style which can be applied to social sciences like economics, sociology, geography, etc. Now, what is the style that we speak of? Look at what is told under APA 7th edition. We are currently undergoing the influence of the APA 7th edition. That is, if you are doing a research paper today on geography, sociology, etc., your guide will tell you that, look, your citation must follow the APA 7th edition norm. What is that? As you can see the format, when you are quoting from some book, at the end, you'll have to write this Smith. Smith is the title of the author, comma, the year in which the book is published, 2022, the page number of the book from where you are quoting, that is page 14. Right? This is pertaining to social sciences. The same information, if you are doing it for English, MLA 9th edition. MLA means Modern Language Association. Modern Language Association. This is an American body again of literature and language experts. They are currently undergoing their 9th edition of styling. Now, how is that format done? The format is done exactly for the same book. You see, the example written is Smith 14. That is in the book authored by Smith. My quotation is from page number 14. Have you seen the difference between the AP and the MLA? APA adds the year of publication. For the MLA, the year of publication is not significant. Why? Because in classical subjects such as language and literature, the year of publication is not very significant. I mean, not as significant as APA. You can ask why, sir. There are many reasons. For example, if you are quoting from Shakespeare's Hamlet, right? It does not specifically matter the year in which Hamlet was published, so long as you are quoting from the original text of Hamlet, right? But in social sciences under APA, the year will matter. Why? Since social science is a dynamic subject where new research very often overthrows the old research, the year of publication of that research is significant, right? For example, 20 years ago, if there was a research telling you that chlorofluorocarbons, which is used as some form of an insulation for refrigerators, air conditioners, etc., they are causing harm to the ozone layer, thereby increasing sun's ultraviolet radiation on Earth. 20 years ago, this would have been a very, very relevant area of research, right? But today, we know, because of awareness, because of regulations passed, most companies have stopped using chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs. So is that worth a topic to be researched today? No, because this issue has already exhausted itself today. But let's say Shakespeare's Hamlet, that was relevant 200 years ago, that is relevant still today. Therefore, MLA citation style does not include year of publication, right? Now, the third style, which is called the Chicago style. Chicago University has developed a specific style for history and the other some of the other art subjects, where they follow a typical author title system. Like, as you can see the example under Chicago, Smith, comma, the title of the book, comma, 14. Now, why is the title added? The title is added because very often in history and the other arts, you may find the same author writing 8 books or 10 books, and maybe 5 books are relevant to your research. So you have to quote all the 5 books, but each book will have a different title. Hence, in those subjects where you have a greater tendency to find authors with multiple books, it is always better to specify titles. Otherwise, the readers will be confused. If there are 2 books you are quoting from Smith, and you write Smith, comma, 14, the readers will be confused. They will ask, which book of Smith from among the 2? So for that, your supervisor or your teacher or your guide or whoever would prefer Chicago style. Author, comma, title, comma, page number. This is how these 3 styles are done. But remember, we will do each of these 3 styles separately in separate classes, right? Now, this was something which I was telling you last time. I'm telling it to you again. At any cost, blind copying from other books has to be avoided. Today, you have an almost 100% accurate online system to check whether a particular word that you have written is copied from someone else or not. And even they will give you the percentage of your work that you have copied. Right? So therefore, it is always safe to quote from wherever you are writing or quoting, so that at least you can avoid the charge of plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Plagiarism is the dishonest academic practice of quoting or copying from others without acknowledgement. Right? And quoting does not mean only direct quotation. Quoting also means paraphrasing. That is, you are getting an idea from someone, but reducing the idea into, let's say, 1/3 of the word. Still, since it is not your idea, it is always safe to quote. Citation is required. For summarizing, citation is required. And today, there are a number of online verification tools which anybody can use to check how much of your work is original and how much of it is copied. Right? Therefore, having known all of this, these are the 3 steps that we will have to consistently work on and improve. The first is follow the process. You have to know the process. Remember, the best academic writings follow well-defined processes. Right? Second is to apply conventions consistently. That is, you are applying one convention in one page, you are applying another convention in another page. That will not do. Adopt one referencing style or convention, follow that throughout your work. Right? And the third thing is very, very important. Initially, when people did not have confidence in their writing abilities, they often hesitated to begin writing. But the more you write, the more your skill is developed and the more strong you become as a scholar. Right? So these are the key takeaways from today's class. The first is the writing process has 6 stages. The tone of the language of the writing process is formal. It should not be subjective. The third is you have to know your subject citation style. Like English, it will be MLA. In history, it has to be either APA or Chicago. In political science, it either has to be APA or Chicago. Right? And the fourth one is academic integrity. Always quote. In fact, one of my teachers, who later on turned into my PhD supervisor, often said that whenever in doubt, be on the safer side and quote. That is, if you feel that your idea may have been taken from someone else, I'm talking of not direct copying, I'm talking of idea, it is better to be safe and it is better to quote that or acknowledge that this idea is taken from so and so. Maybe it's not a full taking of the idea, but still to be on the safer side, because the moment you quote, you cite, you are no longer being dishonest. And your credibility remains largely intact. There may be questions on the depth of your research. That can happen. But at least nobody can charge you with academic dishonesty or plagiarism. Right? So these are the 4 important takeaways of the second class on academic writing. In my next class with you, which will be on Monday in an offline mode, I will be specifically dealing with each of these 3 citation styles that we have learned. One is the APA, American Psychological Association citation style. The other is the MLA, Modern Language Association citation style. And the third is the Chicago Manual, developed by various social science departments or history departments of the Chicago University. Right? So with this, I end today's class, and I advise you again to rewrite your names in the chat box so that I can record your attendance. And once that is recorded, you may leave.